Welcome back to La Pausa, a Pints and Punditry podcast here at the Pitchside Pub. This is episode 14, coming to you Monday, March 11th, after a wild weekend across Europe, but particularly in the Premier League, where we have the tightest race that we have seen in at least a decade, particularly because there's three teams involved, all separated by a couple points, and it's going to be a wild finish. And it was a wild weekend with a lot of controversy that I just don't think needs to be. And we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about that finish in the Man City-Liverpool game. And I'm not going to get into was it a foul, wasn't it a foul. I've got opinions on that. We'll touch on it a little bit, but I've got bigger picture issues that I want to talk about. And as usual, I come with solutions. And you may or may not like them, but I don't like presenting problems without solutions, so I've got solutions, and I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments on them. Will it work? Will it not work? Is it a stupid idea? I don't care. I want to hear your thoughts, so get down in those respective comment sections. If you're watching on YouTube, you know where the comments are. On Spotify, you can leave comments. Make sure you're following us wherever you are listening or watching to this. If it's on Spotify, go ahead and follow the podcast. If it's on YouTube, follow the channel, hit that subscribe button for me, and of course, you can always engage on Twitter at Pitchside Pub, but be sure to keep it respectful, because that is not what happened this weekend. A lot of name calling, a lot of anger, a lot of very biased opinions. And you know, look, we're going to talk about the Manchester City-Liverpool game, and I've obviously got a Manchester City jersey hanging on the wall behind me. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. I am a supporter, but I'm going to be unbiased here. I'm going to be as unbiased as possible, and when it comes to this channel, I really do pride myself on taking an unbiased opinion. I think I've established a relatively strong track record of that. One of my most watched videos of the year is the one where I say we should stop debating Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka because it's a dumb debate because they're both great, right? And I'm not taking sides on that, even though I've got one of their jerseys hanging behind me. It's a dumb debate. I'm not going to be one-sided and biased on that one. Bukayo Saka is an amazing player. He's fantastic. So I really do try to be unbiased. I'm on record as saying that if Manchester City is charged with any, or certainly with all of their, 115 charges, that they should be punished very severely, even if that means going down to League One or League Two, and I'll remain a fan and I'll watch them rise back up. I try to be unbiased. So I don't want that to get in the way of my opinions here, and I'm not going to get into was it a foul or not too deeply, because that's a rabbit hole I just don't want to go down. But we've got bigger picture issues to fry here, and that's what I want to talk about today. But before we do, it wasn't that long ago that I was told in no uncertain terms that the Premier League season was over, right? Think back 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, late January, early February, Manchester City was starting their run that everybody knew was coming, right? They were going to rattle off, 8, 10, 12 games in a row without a defeat. And Liverpool dropped a point or two here, and Arsenal dropped a point or two here, and that lead shrunk to a couple points. And everybody said, well, there it is, it's over. Manchester City's going to win. And it was dumb at the time, and it's just as dumb now. And I said it at the time, it's not over, nothing's over. Nothing is over. And it's just such an obvious defense mechanism to dismiss the chances of anybody else winning. So that way, if Manchester City does end up winning this title race, and they're in it, and they've got as good a chance as the other two, but at this point, I don't care what the programs say and the simulations say. There's so many personal judgments you have to put in and assumptions you have to make to run those simulations that you really have to take them with a heavy grain of salt. At this point, it's neck and neck and neck, right? This is the opening scene to Cars, the Pixar movie where you've got all three cars coming down the stretch and it's neck and neck, and they end up tying at the end of that movie. But this is that close, right? You've got three teams that are all have equal chances as far as I'm concerned. And Manchester City and Arsenal still have a game to play coming up in a couple weeks, and that will determine a lot. But right now it's anybody's race. And it's been anybody's race for months now. And if you have been in that crowd that was dismissive of the chances of anybody but Manchester City, and you want to go and you want to run to the 115 charges and the state-owned money and the fact that they spend and blah, blah, you're missing out. I feel bad for you. You're missing out. You're missing out on an incredible season. So wake up, stop making excuses, and enjoy this, because this is as good as it gets. We have 3 huge clubs. All of them are playing well. Maybe not at their best, but they're all playing well. They're all well coached. They've got star players. What more could we want? What more could we want than, we got 10 games left in the season and a few points separating, not 2, but 3 teams. What more could we want? Even as a neutral, you got to be looking at this going, all right, man, my team's out of it, but this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. And everybody's got a horse they want to win. So stop making excuses. Stop throwing City under the bus for the way they spend, which, by the way, is not as much as you think. And enjoy this. Enjoy this, because this is going to be a hell of a race. And whether City ends up on top or not, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this. And if they don't win, I'm going to look back and say, you know what? I'm glad the league is providing competition, because that's what I want. I've said this many times. I want Manchester United to be good again. I want to then beat them, but I want them to be good again. I love the competition. I love when it's neck and neck. Man City winning a 3-legged race by 1 point on the last weekend of the season is going to be so much better than running away and having it locked up in April and winning by 12 points. It just will be. So I'm loving this, and let everybody stop making excuses and just enjoy this awesome race. And that gets into the call at the end of the Man City-Liverpool game and more importantly, people's responses to it. And it really just brings out the worst in football fandom, and unfortunately in officiating and in judgment making, and it's not all the officials' fault. So we're going to talk about this big picture first, and then we'll narrow in on a few things. So first of all, that was a great game. High intensity. Liverpool was the better team. It's at Anfield, tough place to play. City came out, were probably the better team in the first 30 minutes, but Liverpool were the better team overall. City did not look great, particularly in the second half. They have not looked great when Kevin De Bruyne either doesn't play or doesn't play well, and he did not play well. He got absolutely put in Endo's pocket and was invisible. And Pep was right to pull him off, and he was right to do it as early as he did. And when Kevin De Bruyne does not play well, they don't look all that good. But what stood out to me was how important it is to never, ever, ever take your eye off of the focus and of the details for 1 second. Look at that game. That was a very evenly matched game overall, even though I think Liverpool outplayed them a little bit. But that was a pretty evenly matched game overall. But there were 2 small moments that made the difference. One was Liverpool letting their guard down on the set piece early that Manchester City exploited. And the other was the penalty that led to the PK. It was actually the bad pass that led to Ederson's penalty. Ake just lost his focus for just a second and left Ederson out to dry with a little halfy pass that just didn't get there. And that's all it took. That's all it took. They could have played a perfect game the other 99% of the time and lost because of one bad pass. Or in Liverpool's case, lost or drew because of one 10 seconds of lack of focus on a corner kick. So it's that these are the margins. These are the margin in this race, which is so incredible. It's that tight, and it's going to be decided by this much. There was at some point a ball that hit the post, and it came right back to Liverpool's keeper instead of Phil Foden, who was in front of goal and was ready to get it off the post. Not the one that hit him in the head and then the arm and then went off the post, but the other one that hit off the side post and came back. And if that's a half an inch the other way and goes to him, it's a goal. But instead it goes right to the keeper. I mean, these are the margins we're talking about. And that segues me into the call or non-call at the end of the game between Jeremy Doku and Alexis McAllister. And that's the one that's got everybody up in arms. And I want to talk about this bigger picture. I don't want to go deep into the weeds of was it a foul or not. My personal opinion is that it was not, because Doku's foot was coming up, hits the ball first, which is not the rule. The rule is not if you make contact with the ball first, it can't be a foul. That is not the rule. However, the rule is that you cannot impede the player's ability to make the play. And by hitting the ball first, he no longer did that. The problem is he did have his foot in a dangerous spot. So if you are in a debate with someone and they are saying vehemently that it is so clear that it was a foul, you're debating the wrong person and they are biased and disingenuous. But at the same time, because that's probably a Liverpool fan, but at the same time, if you are debating somebody who's probably a Manchester City fan who says, there is no way that could be a foul, what are you thinking? You're an idiot if you think it's a foul. They are also biased and disingenuous, and I'm not saying that. My personal opinion is that I don't think it was a foul, and I think VAR showed that. However, I will say that this is one of the more gray area incidents that I have seen in a long time. And if you want to make an argument that his foot was in a dangerous spot and thus it was a foul, I will grant you that. And that in and of itself makes it possibly a foul. This is a very difficult call in a very gray area. I will also say, if you are debating somebody or you are discussing this with somebody and they make the argument that if this was in the middle of the pitch in the 30th minute and not in the box in stoppage time in a 1-1 game, that it would be called every time. They are correct. They are correct. Now, should it be? No. Should it be? Absolutely not. But it would have been. And I think that the reason is because live at full speed, it did look like a foul. And then, upon review at VAR, it did not look as much like a foul. That's where the gray area really came in. But at full speed in the middle of the pitch in the 30th minute, that's going to get called almost every time. He's going to get a yellow card, and it's never going to go to review. I understand that. You also have to understand the context of the game. That is going to get called in the 30th minute in the middle of the pitch. It's not going to get called in the box in a 1-1 game where a penalty is going to be awarded that's going to change not only the outcome of the game, but the outcome of the entire Premier League season. That just simply isn't going to happen. However, that is a problem. I hate that that is the case. And that's the problem I want to solve today. There's a human nature in this. The official was not going to make that call. Even though it was at Liverpool and it would have been a pro-Liverpool call and he would have been resoundingly supported in that, that's a massive, massive call to make. VAR has shown a long history of not having the guts to overturn calls in those situations. So you can't be shocked that it didn't happen. But here's the problem. That was not a foul, if you think that was a foul. And again, I think this is very much a gray area, but let's, for the sake of argument, say that you're on the side that that was a foul. That was not a foul that prevented a goal. That was a for lack of a better term, loose ball situation. It was a 50-50. It was up in the air and two guys went for it. McAllister initiated as much of that contact as Doku did. Of course, he did it with his chest, not the bottom of his cleats. But that was a coming together of two players for an unpossessed ball. And it was not a scoring opportunity that was prevented. It was not something that would have changed the outcome of the game, and thus you don't want to award a penalty for it. And that's the thinking. That's the thinking of the official, which is, yes, if this was out in the middle of the pitch, I can call a foul on this and maybe even give a yellow card, because what are the real repercussions of that? Not that much. But in the box, at this moment, in this game, if I call this foul, I have no choice but to award a penalty kick, which is probably going to be converted, which is going to change the outcome of the game, which is going to change the outcome of the season. And I think even the most biased, passionate, ardent Liverpool supporter would say that had that been awarded, they would have felt very fortunate. Not because they didn't think it was a foul, but because that foul didn't really warrant a penalty or a game-changing penalty by any stretch of the imagination in that situation. That foul was not egregious enough, nor did it prevent a goal-scoring opportunity so that it should have warranted a game-changing goal at the end of a game. And anybody who's arguing that it was is not a serious person. They're not a serious debater. They are not taking this seriously. They are a biased Liverpool fan, and hey, more power to you. You love your team, that's great, but you're not a serious fan. And that's the problem. The officials are handcuffed. I hate the fact that it's a foul here, but it's not a foul here. Or it's a foul then, but it's not a foul then. But I understand it. I understand it, and I don't think the officials are wrong to call it that way. I think the rule structure is wrong. I think the fact that they have only those two extreme choices is the problem. If I'm the official, I don't want to give a foul for that. It's not like this was Alexis McAllister breaking on a fast break and Jeremy Doku tackled him from behind to prevent an easy goal scoring opportunity. This was nothing of the sort. This was a ball bouncing around and two guys went after it. It just happened to be near the goal. It just happened to be in the box. the fact that the official only has these two very extreme options, let it go or award a penalty kick, is the problem. Those are far too extreme. So what I am proposing is the ability for the official to call a penalty in the box but not award a penalty kick. Now, this can be a slippery slope. This can be, we have seen the proposal of the blue card, right, where you're putting the offending player in the penalty box, for lack of a better term, to steal the hockey term, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes is yet to be determined. And of course, that was universally hated, and they've already scrapped the idea because it was stupid. But I have said, and I made a video about this as well, that something in between a yellow and a red is not a bad idea. Well, it's the same sort of concept here. The problem is giving the officials one more thing to make a judgment call on is tough. They're struggling enough out there as it is. But I do think part of the reason that they're struggling, or in this case, I don't think he struggled. I think he made the right call in that penalty was not worthy of, or that foul was not worthy of a penalty, right? If you want to say it was a foul, fine. I disagree slightly, but I understand the concept, and I don't think you are disingenuous if you want to make the argument that was a foul. But was a foul at that time, in that situation, worthy of a game-changing penalty kick? Absolutely not. So he was right to go with the non-call. But he should have had the ability to call something. So the ability to say, yes, that's a foul. Hell, I'll even give you a yellow card if I think it's dangerous enough. But it was not a goal-scoring opportunity, and thus we are not awarding a penalty kick. That is the ability that the refs need to have, that official needs to have. So he could have called it, and you award Liverpool something, probably a free kick that you pulled just to right outside the box, and so it's still a dangerous situation. But there's a massive difference between a free kick outside the box and a one-on-one penalty kick. That is a massive, massive difference. And so I'm not saying Liverpool shouldn't be awarded anything, but that was not a goal-scoring opportunity. So my parameters for this judgment call would be that officials have the ability to rule a foul and even a card inside the penalty box without awarding a penalty kick, if and only if it comes in a non-goal scoring situation. If the foul, no matter how small, prevents a goal scoring opportunity, it has to be a penalty kick. But if the foul is totally unrelated and it does not affect a goal scoring opportunity for the victim, for lack of a better term, the fouled party in any way, then it should not be awarded a penalty kick. And that would have allowed the official to make this call. And he could have said, yes, foul on Jeremy Doku. If he wants, give him the yellow card, but you don't get a penalty kick. We're going to pull it back to the top of the box, and Liverpool gets a free kick, and you line your wall up, and you have to do all that stuff. And that is probably the reward that Liverpool deserved from that foul. They did not deserve a penalty kick. They did not deserve to have Mo Salah step up to the spot in the 97th minute and score a game-winning goal because of that foul. And that you cannot convince me otherwise, and I genuinely don't feel like that is a bias. If the roles were reversed, and that's what I always try to do in these situations, is think, if the roles were reversed, how would I feel? If I was Manchester City and let's say Phil Foden got a stud to the chest in a similar situation from Luis Diaz in an opportunity where nobody was even trying to build up or score or anything like that, and Erling Haaland got to step to the spot and drill one home from there, I would say, boy, that was lucky. That guy made a boneheaded play that had nothing to do with scoring, and we got a free goal. That's what that would have felt like. And yeah, I would have been happy about my 3 points, but I would have felt like we won the lottery there. And that's what this would have been. So, yes, Liverpool deserved something for that. If you want to call that a foul, then they deserve something. And a free kick at the top of the box would have been a opportunity, but not nearly the almost automatic opportunity that your best player stepping up to the spot in that situation would have been. So that's my proposal. Give the officials the ability to do something in between. The problem here is that they're operating on the extremes. It's no foul or it's a penalty kick. That changes the game, that changes the season. We are a billion-dollar industry here. The Premier League is a billion-dollar industry, and it hangs on the judgment of an official who is handcuffed, who is completely handcuffed by his inability to do anything other than black or white. And yet we've got a foul, we've got a situation that is nothing but shades of gray. And that is the problem. So we have to empower these officials to do a better job if we expect better out of them. I don't think the officials got this wrong. I don't think VAR got it wrong. I think the official and VAR were in an absolute no-win situation where something came together and it was in between. And they're not allowed to operate on in between. It's all or it's nothing. And that's the problem. And so we're watching this magnificent season come together, and yet it hinges on the inability of the official to use any judgment. And that's a massive problem. That's a massive problem. Not that the referees have shown great judgment, but if we empower them with more flexibility, perhaps they can get it right more often. So that's my proposal. Give them something in between that they can use the judgment on and get this right. Because while you can make a valid argument that it was a foul, you cannot, in my mind, make a valid argument that it was worthy of a game and season changing penalty being awarded in that situation, and you won't convince me otherwise. It just in that case, the reward for Liverpool would have been so much worse than the offense that was committed. So I'm looking for more flexibility, more options to get these things right. So that we don't have these controversies. Because at the end of the day, the controversies overshadow the amazing game that we watched. And that was 96, 97 minutes of amazing, amazing football. And yet all anybody wants to talk about at the end was this controversy. So eliminate the thing that causes the controversy. And the thing that causes the controversy is the all or nothing restriction of the rules. That's my plan. That's my suggestion. I'm sure I will get comments on this, but I want to hear them. Get down in that comment section down below. If you're on YouTube, on Spotify, get in the comment section. Make sure you follow the podcast on there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube if you don't already. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Keep it respectful. Keep it as unbiased as you can, and let's talk about how we can make the game even better. And of course, if you don't already, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Pitchside Pub. Thanks as always for joining us here on La Pausa at the Pitchside Pub.